Yes, you've read the title correctly. I'm pretty sure that you've seen this like thousands of times online, right? Where all of these, big jack guys tell you to the way you improve your confidence and social skills is you approach 1,000 women a day. I've seen it all the time on the internet, right? Where the general narrative is that one of the best ways for you to like improve your confidence and social skills is by cold approaching. And for those who don't know, a brief explanation is to just walk up to strangers, people you don't know. Whether if that's walking up to a random girl in public and asking for a number, or if it's like starting a group conversation with some people, you get the narrative, right? And I used to think that it's an amazing way to improve your confidence because I've done it a lot in the past. But thanks to what I've learned recently, my opinion on that changed drastically, right? And it all started a few months ago when I was doing a monk mode, right? So for those who don't know, I shaved my head bald completely. I was out there grinding on this YouTube channel, right? That was my main and only priority. And that's the way it looked for a solid 3 to 4 months, right? Until I came to the conclusion that, yeah, my social skills are dropping quite hard. Back at that point in time, my channel was mainly about just self-improvement. There wasn't really a niche to it. So I was just kind of talking about whatever, right? And when I realized that, wait a minute, my social skills are shit, I should do something about it. I started to actually take the time to speak to more people, right? I started to start conversations with strangers. Me and my friends would go to different towns and cold approach girls there. We've done all of that. I've done all of that mostly by myself, right? It was for my own development. And this was a very good period of time for me because thanks to the experience that I built up, I managed to improve my confidence quite a bit. I didn't struggle with speaking to people and doing all of that, right? And everything was going great. All the way until a few months ago, which I thought I wouldn't fall for the same mistake twice, but apparently I did. Whilst I didn't shave my head this time, once again, I fell into this time period in which all I was focused on was this channel, working on it, right? And this is where it gets hypocritical, right? Because I thought that for me to get better at YouTube, right? For me to give better advice on social skills, I should spend more time on YouTube, right? And in a weird hypocritical way, I actually started to speak to less people, right? But there was one narrative throughout all of this that still lingered in my mind. And it was the fact that I was still getting these negative thoughts. Not as often as I used to, right? I already took a lot of time working on these, right? But the issue is that I could be cold approaching anybody I want. I could be doing all of that, right? But deep down, sometimes, and I would look in the mirror, I'll still to myself that I'm skinny. I'll still say to myself that I'm skinny, right? I would mess up once, right? I could have one of these days, right? Where I get a number, but then the next time I try to speak to a girl, it's I flop and I embarrass myself. And that would just affect my self-image a lot, right? It would play with my mind. I never really took care of my insecurities as well as I should. I took care of the biggest insecurity, which is to be my height and size, right? But the overall self-image was still fucked up. So what do you think happened when I went into this 3 to 4 month period, right? Where I was still cold approaching once in a while, but it was just very rarely, right? I didn't do it consistently. And worst part on top of all of that is I wasn't really seeing results, right? Because the channel has been at a massive dip, right? And I wasn't really making that much progress. So when I actually tried cold approaching again, I still got it, right? I was still good at it. But as soon as I started to feel restricted again, recently there was I didn't want to say it, but fuck it, I'm gonna say it, There was this event at my school, right? And it was a blind dates. It was blind dates essentially, right? Where on one side you have 3 girls sitting, on one side you have one guy, or vice versa, right? 3 guys or 1 girl. And then they would ask each other, or the one guy would ask the 3 others questions, and then they would just answer them, and by the end of it he would choose one of these guys. Then at the end, right, they get to see each other, and it's a big wow, right? Because they didn't see each other through the wall, right? It was blind dates. For the fun of it, I just for the joke of it, I thought to myself, should I go there? because like I was sitting at the event, like I didn't want to even be here, right? I was supposed to have like some like English class or something, I think. And I was just sitting there. And in the last few minutes, like as I was like sitting on my phone, like just thinking about YouTube, right? YouTube business, blah, blah, blah. Then I just lifted my head, like watched, and I watched it for like a few minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, should I go for it? Nah. And I was just like, it was a big coping type of nah, right? And then by the end of it, I got this same kind of mental fatigue that you get from like getting rejected by a girl, right? Or like not walking up to somebody. I got this like similar effect in my mind. And as soon as I did, I just thought to myself, wait, the fuck? Like I literally just bitched out. I did the exact same thing I swore not to do ever again, right? And that's when I started thinking to myself, okay, why did this happen? And the issue is that I base my confidence purely on the cold approaching and not actually on the inner development that I've done, right? Because see, I already spent a major part of my life dealing with my insecurities. I wasn't born the tallest. I'm around 5'7", right? But when I went into high school, I was way shorter than that. I can't give you the exact number, right? Because I used to think it was 5'4", but I started looking at my old pictures recently. It might have been a little bit more, right? But that's irrelevant, right? What is relevant is that I was always the shortest regardless where I'd go. That was like the number one insecurity alongside my size, right? Because it took me quite a bit to build those muscles. So it took me a lot of time to work on that, right? And whilst I made severe progress, like very significant, because that 0.1% was still there in the back of my mind, right? And once I just stopped thinking about all that stuff completely, because I was so locked in on YouTube, that's when very, very slowly, these negative, like, think of it as almost like a plant, right? Where at first it was like this massive tree of like insecurities. Then once I finally chopped the tree off, after not paying attention to it, the tree started to slowly grow back up, right? Keep in mind, this was on a minor scale, but as soon as I noticed it, I like chopped that shit away again, right? Because here's the thing, if you don't take care of what's going on deep down first, you can throw all of this cold approach shit out the window, right? Because it's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that you shouldn't do. Dare I say 99% of y'all watch this shit still should be cold approaching, right? But the narrative is that if you don't fix what's going on deep down, you're not gonna excel in that realm, right? Because you'll still hold on to these limiting beliefs you have in your mind, right? That's why I don't like to look at confidence as a skill. I'll promise you one thing right now. If you see a single person on the internet, you can throw it in like me in the past as well, screw it. If you see a single guy talking about confidence being a skill, I can assure you he doesn't know shit about confidence. Because it is an entity, maybe not an entity, right? That was the wrong word to use, but it's something that you can recall to in the past. Confidence was never like a stale thing, right? It was something that was like a graph that goes up and down with time, right? There are situations in which you are less confident, and then there are situations in which you like don't give a slightest shit, right? The way you behave around your best buddies is different from the way you behave around people you don't know. Confidence is, I don't like to use that word, but it's more of a spectrum than a skill, right? Because it depends on the situation. So looking at it as a skill, as like levels, it just doesn't really make sense when you think about it from a broader perspective, right? And social skills, yeah, they have the word skills in the name, right? It's totally different. But confidence is not a skill. Trust me on that. And when you start looking at it as a skill, then you start to realize like this shit don't work, right? Trust me. When you take care of your insecurities deep down and you truly accept yourself for who you are, that's what makes a significant difference, right? I get these thoughts. One of the most common thoughts that I get is, I'm just gonna say it, I don't give a fuck, is that I'm not good enough. That's the one thought that like keeps coming back to me, right? But that's why I share to you the experiences from the actual situation, right? Like I have enough self-respect to tell you that there are situations in which I get like unconfident, in which I still get anxious. They do. They occur to this day. But the amount of progress that I made long term is so significant that there isn't the same motherfucker like me on the internet. there isn't a second Simon Shredder anywhere in the world, right? Once I zoomed out and I looked at like my entire journey from like a broader perspective, that graph is like, it's humongous. It's genuinely big, right? Like I really like to think of it as like trading graphs, right? When you zoom in on a trading graph and you look at it from a like 1 week's perspective, you see a lot of ups and downs, bumps and dumps, right? But when you zoom out and you look at the entirety of the graph, then you start to see that it's actually growing up, right? You need to look at it from a long-term perspective. One bad situation doesn't mean bad everything, but our minds love to convince us that it does. And that's the issue. You know, I honestly think that you do yourself a much bigger favor by taking care of your insecurities than you would just like cold approaching girls, right? Because what's likely going to happen is you're gonna do it for the first time, you're gonna mumble like blah, 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 blah. You're gonna embarrass yourself, and then you're gonna get discouraged from doing it again. Why? Because these negative thoughts still take up too much power in your head. And the best way to counteract these negative actions is simply positive thoughts. And I know it sounds bullshit. But hear me out. You can't think your way into positive action, but you can act your way into right thinking by doing the things that destroy the limiting belief, that prove it wrong. That's how you make progress. And when I say this to people, they often tell me, oh, but I'm 5'4" and I can't do much about it because it's genetic. Then why focus on shit that you can't control to begin with? Focus on the things that you can actually improve, not the things that you were given, that are set, right? Why are you focusing on the one thing that you can't do? It's like you're like that one Minecraft kid trying to mine a bedrock, right? You're just wasting your time. You're genuinely just wasting your time. I found that analogy quite funny. Focus on the things that you can control, right? One of the biggest insecurities for me, I already said it, but it was my size, it was my height. What did I start to do? I started weightlifting. I started to learn how to fight. I started to improve my physical. I used to think I was ugly back in the day. I mean, when you look at a guy who looks like this, wait, I'm gonna put up an image. When you see a guy who looks like that, does that like scream attractiveness to you? That screams like the disgust, if anything, right? And sure, I don't look like a looks maxing god, whatever. I look different without my hat on, but I like to think I make progress, right? And I have enough healthy ego for my mind to give me positive thoughts, right? And one more thing that I want to put on top of this video, because I really feel like it's becoming an information overload, right? But I would much rather have a little bit of ego, right? I would much rather be slightly narcissistic than to have self-destructive thoughts. I'm just gonna say it. A little bit of ego is very healthy. Once you have too much, obviously it screws you over. But the people who don't have ego is the people that never fight for their own thing. It's the people that say to themselves, oh yeah, you can have that thing. I didn't really want it, right? Even though I want it a lot, but you can have it anyways, right? Because I'm a bitch. And then you stop respecting yourself, because that's the pure definition of not valuing yourself. That's like the pure, like primal example of a lack of self-respect. Go get it. Go get the things that you want. Do you have at least a little bit of that drive inside of you? I'm just gonna say, I know a lot of us have like low testosterone. And I know you're hearing this from a babyface guy too, right? Even though I'm 17, right? But at least I have enough drive to go for the things that I want. I don't want anybody to take my shit away from me, right? I have my dreams. I have my ambitions. And I won't let nobody take them away. I'll be working towards them, right? Whilst all the other guys, right? Imagine this. Really imagine this scenario, right? Because there's a high chance that a version of this, maybe not the exact story, but at least a slight version of this has happened in your life. You know this feeling when you want to speak to a girl? You know she's single, you want to talk to her, right? You think she's kind of cute, but you don't. Because you're a bitch and you're scared of rejection, right? So what happens? Some other guy starts talking to her, starts being her boyfriend, whatever, and now you're convincing yourself, now you're getting into these limiting beliefs that, oh yeah, I didn't want to be with her anyways, you know? Actually, she's a slut. I don't like her at all. Bro, this is what you need to be taking care of. Not walking up to girls trying to be like the next fucking, what was his name? Patrick Bateman or whatever. No, wait. What's the guy from American Psycho?
You stupid.
Fudge. I forgot. Okay, that's irrelevant. You get the narrative, right? Please take care of your mental first before you jump into that. It's definitely worth cold approaching, but don't expect that alone to be the solution to all of your problems. If you found value in this video and you want to talk to me directly whilst hanging around a community that actually understands your struggles and experiences, please join the Discord server. Trust me, you won't find a community like us anywhere else on the planet. I can pretty much assure you that, you know? We have weekly calls. Shit, like my setup, there we go. We have a very active community. We genuinely look out for each other like real people. On top of all of that, weekly calls. You'll get a shit ton of opportunities to talk to me directly. So if you're down with that, if you're cool with that, click the link below. And if not, you can click all the videos if you want to. You can subscribe as well, but if you made it all the way here, comment the word mouse. I'm not sure you can see it, I'm stretching the cable. Comment the word mouse, gentlemen. And I'll see you in the next upload. Take care.